Evening, everyone. And welcome back after a 2-week break to the Monday assessment by the View from the Medway Fancast in partnership with the Gillingham FC Supporters Club. Well, I don't think this really needs an intro this evening after recent events that have come to light that Mark Bonner is no longer with the club, and we now have a new manager till the end of the season at least in John Coleman. So I would like to introduce tonight. I am joined by David Kris from the Shouting Men podcast, Warren the Moody Old Bastard, and Luke Teaching of Luke's 11 fame from the German Gills, and also a key contributor to the Gills and the Blood TV. How are we, boys? Good Christmas?
Yeah, good, mate.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well,
apart from Gillingham.
Well, yeah. Apart from the terrible losses that we've had, I think that it's been an all right Christmas as well. So in light of this evening's announcement, I guess, which caught some off guard. Not myself, probably not Luke, probably not Warren, probably not Dave, but we will go into Mark Bonner is gone. So, boys, I will start with you, Luke. What are your thoughts on it, mate?
I think the writing was on the wall, wasn't it, after the Bromley game, when you're going to get a large section of your crowd singing "Getting Sacked in the Morning." I thought it was only going to end one way. I think I think Stuart Lewis kind of alluded to this quite a lot. He talks the talk, but unfortunately, he couldn't walk the walk. Whether that be part of the blame to himself because we lacked any identity. At least with like Neil Harris and Stephen Clements, you could understand what they were trying to achieve. Like we were defensively sound with Harris on the counter. With Clements, you could see he was trying to build up from the back. All he used to go on about was how many crosses we put in. But with Bonner, we never really got to see what he was trying to stand for. And then when over the last month, especially over the Christmas period, when he has had all the players available to him, nothing's really changed. And like I say, the writing was on the wall. I never like to see a manager get sacked. Is it the right decision? Yes. But he isn't the main issue here. You've got, I would say, a large segment of that squad who have now got a third manager sacked. I still go by the standpoint that half of them don't really care. They're on inflated wages, just going and picking up their paycheck week to week. And don't really give a toss, if I'm being honest. Not overly surprised, and I wish Mark the best of luck where he ends up next, because like I say, he does seem like a decent bloke, but it just hasn't worked out again. And I think we'll go into more detail on the reasons why and that later. But it's
Warren.
Yeah, I think the writing was on the wall with the team he put out against Bromley, to be quite honest. With all the managers that I've seen sacked, and you can probably go back as far as Peacock, Summers. They've put out teams in games. We've got absolutely hammered. Normally it's been away from home, but this time it was at home. I don't know about you guys, but as soon as I saw the team that he put out against Bromley, the starting 11, I honestly thought he'd lost the plot. It was a real poor side that he put out. For whatever reasons, I don't know. But I just think that his biggest issue was that he was driven too much by stats and data and all the other newfound things that have come along in football these days, which is why I'm pretty glad that we've got an experienced manager in John Coleman coming in, because I don't think he's impressed by that. He just looks at players on the pitch and he looks into their eyes and sees if they will actually want to go out and play. And that's what they do for him.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think we were all brought in by the superlatives that came from Bonner's mouth originally. But David, what are your thoughts on it, mate? Do you think that it's a good decision, or do you think it's too soon?
No, I think overall it's the right decision. It could have happened 3, 4, 5 games ago, and it feels like they've given him every single chance to prove their decision right. But at the end of the day, if anything could sum up a manager getting sacked, was Nevitt's penalty.
100%.
I don't think there's one Gills fan that thought that was going in. And it just summed up everything. It's like they announced the crowd of 7,000 when there was about 2,000 left in the ground, and it's the person that got subbed on the hour mark. And a bit like what Warren said, you looked at the team and it was just a shambles. You had players that were starting that weren't even in the squad for the game before. It was just he didn't know his strongest 11, and we're in January now, and I don't know what the stat is, but from my knowledge, I think once or twice he kept the same team for 2 games in a row, and at 2 level, that's rare from my time supporting Jews. Normally, it's the same mob every week, whether they're good or bad. But this time, Bonner just you could tell as well by his press conferences he looked beaten. From, like you said, where he was this talker, he kind of, the lengths of his press conferences started to go down and down from 20 odd minutes to 10 minutes to 9 minutes. And as I said, it's a shame, but it's the right decision.
Do you know what I akin it to? You know, when like his press conferences, mainly after Bromley away and then after Bromley at home as well. You know, when it's like, and you'll probably vouch for me here, Warren, Luke and David, it's akin to want to tell your kids what to do all the time, getting to the end of the week and being so drained, you're just like, I can't do it anymore. Like he literally came across as he was a beaten man. So yeah, okay, we might agree that he's gone, but at the same time, we have to put a lot of that blame on them players, don't we?
Yeah, and I think if you look to after the game on Thursday night, if you saw all the senior players or the so-called senior players that have been here for a few years, and like I say, this is now going up against their 4th manager, they all just swiftly darted down the tunnel. Obviously, the captain, marvellous himself, Max Zamer in particular, who can't stand any criticism of his own because he thinks he's the best thing in life's bread. He darted down because he can't stand getting booed. But then you had little Sam Gale, Johnny Williams, Ewan Williams, fair play to Jaden Clark, came right up to a fan. And they got applauded because I think generally, Johnny Williams, I thought actually played all right the other night. But them players have been consistently given good performances. Sam Gale should never have been dropped out the side either against Wimbledon because I thought he was our best defender. But all the others just go, and it comes back to my point that I don't think they care enough. If you looked at, like I say, what Warren said, when John Coleman looks into some of them eyes tomorrow morning, I think there'll be 5 or 6 that he'll go, yeah, you won't be playing for me. I think like if you look at Romeo Hutton, he got bombed out of the sides, bombed out of the squad completely, teach him a lesson, comes back in, still delivers the same dross. I don't know what, I say, you spoke about this before, where we sign players that are unreal at another club, they come in, they seem to die. I don't know what's happened to him, but he's been pitiful since we signed him. But I'd point him as one of the bad eggs, along with 3 or 4 others, and it'd be interesting that first 11 next Saturday to see where he goes. It's going to be 4-4-2, we know that. But yeah, they take a major part of this responsibility, because I think with Clements, I don't think he ever had. Obviously, Harris had the changing room, and they just weren't consistently delivering good enough results. Clements, I don't think he even ever had the changing room from day one. And I think Bonner, when he was giving criticisms after Barrow, I think he might have lost a few too, because he was telling a few home truths. But you don't know what happens behind closed doors. But let's say he's John Coleman's certainly going to be not one to be messed with. And but I look forward to that first 11, if I'm honest.
Yeah, boys. Anything else to add, David or Warren?
I was going to say, sorry, Warren. I was going to say, on the back of what Luke just said with the 4-4-2, do you think this could mean Marcus Wiley, the forgotten man, we could see him coming back? Because I don't know why he's not even in the squad anymore.
Yeah, I think anyone above 6'3" will be in the squad, because that's how he loves big, tall players. And as in League Two, you see the likes of when Grimsby come down and Bromley the other night. big, tall players do well in this division, especially if they're a bully and all. So yeah, anyone above 6'3", I reckon will be starting. And probably see Hawkins back in the side as well at centre half. I wouldn't be surprised at that either.
I was about to say, put a note on that. No one is leaving other than Hawkins and Andrews.
Yeah, be interesting to see where it goes. But yeah.
Right, boys. Warren, have you got anything to add to that, mate? Before we move on to the club statement quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at the whole kit and caboodle of the football club at the moment. We had to change the end of Scally's reign, going into the Gallinsons' start of their reign, because they didn't have much idea of how football was run. They did things what they had to do at the time. Unfortunately, those things haven't worked out now. Now they're further down the line, and off the field, the club's progressing and whatever. We need to get Joe Conqueror away from the football side, because I don't think that's where his forte lies. I think we need to sort out our recruitment. We need to look at whatever manager's going to be here next season, or if it's John Coleman, he needs to sort it out, ready for next season. Head of recruitment, I don't really think we need one. We just need a good scouting network that the manager trusts to go out and look what's about. And then director of football, do we need one of them? No. I just think that we're just floating about trying to do what other clubs are doing. Get rid of all this data and stats and whatever. It's got to go. Just look at what players do on the training pitch, how they react to you in the dressing room, how they play for you on a Saturday, right? You don't need stats to be told how good or how bad a player's playing. You just watch it.
Yeah, I think
all four of us know, right? When players make good or bad games.
I think I alluded to it like when I did the blog earlier, which was a waste of time. The data-driven stuff in League Two isn't necessarily like going to work. It's a culmination of a perfect storm between players that are under contract, which are on inflated wages, players that are out of contract in the summer, and this data-driven stuff, which can tell you that Jack Nolan had a good season last season. It can tell you that Elliot never had a good season last season. But what it doesn't tell you is the season before, neither of them did anything. So one good season wonders on data isn't going to get it. Players out of contract losing any kind of interest because they know they're going to get another club. And then you've got the likes of, I don't know exactly how much is on, but like the likes of Jack Nolan, who's probably one of the highest earners because he had interest from League One, sitting there on his wage, comfortable, having his McDonald's and going home every Saturday.
So you'd like to think that the data, and obviously I've got nothing to go on here, you'd like to think the data they're looking at isn't based on one season, but on the signings, you probably think that it might be.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're just overcomplicating things, really. Kind of going on from Warren's point. And like I say, I think Coleman would have taken a job on the basis that he gets the rest of the season to prove himself, and then he'll take the job next year. And I think that's the right way to go. I think not to go permanent straight away is probably a good decision because it gives him. He's got something to prove as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the things that Scally did right during his tenure. Is he'd give short contracts because then players would have to then prove themselves. So okay, not towards the end, but like in his pomp, there would be like 1 year contracts. So players would have to either prove themselves to get a new contract or be gone. So anyway, boys, we'll move on to the club statement. So it read, the club can confirm that it is departed company with first team manager Mark Bonner. Mark arrived at Mems Priestfield in May 2024 and managed 28 games across all competitions. Managing director Joe Comper said Mark is a top guy, a top professional, and has given absolutely everything he could have given to help the club succeed. We like him from the moment we saw him, and we still do, which makes this decision even harder. The staff have thoroughly enjoyed working with him. However, we felt that for us to achieve something this season, we believe with a very talented group of players, we needed to make the change, give us the best possible opportunity to get where we want to be start of May. With regret, we have decided to part company. I would like to place on record my thanks to Mark, and I wish him every success in the future. We would like to thank Mark and Anthony for their efforts whilst at Mems Priestfield Stadium, and we expect to make a further announcement regarding, I don't know why I've got a T on there, of the team later this evening. And that announcement has now been made, and it is indeed John Coleman. So, thoughts on that, and I will start with Warren.
Yeah, I'm good to see someone with experience, someone who doesn't adhere to the Gareth Southgate school of coaching from St George's Park, which is what we've basically had with our last three managers. John Coleman's one of these people that when he's in the opposition dugout, you really can't stand him, but you wouldn't mind him batting for your own team, to be honest. I think there will be changes. I think he will kick people up the backside, and I think he'll be ruthless. He'll probably want the job next season, and as you alluded to, Kris, he's got something to prove himself if he wants the job next year. And I really believe that he will go into it with everything that he's got. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's here to take 6 months' money. I think he's been out of the game a little while. I think he's probably refreshed, come back, ready for a new challenge. And to be honest, spending 6 months with Gillingham at the moment with the players that we got is going to be a real challenge.
Yeah, Dave, we'll go with you next, mate. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I'm happy with the appointment. I think experience is the route we needed to go after the last two appointments. Like Warren said, I don't think he'll take any nonsense. I think, the captain could be an interesting one, whether he does what most managers seem to do and stick with Max, or whether he goes for a change. And I think it's exactly what we need at this moment in time.
Yeah, Luke?
Yeah, I agree with what the others have said. I say, for me, first things first is get that captain armband as far away from Max Amer as physically possible. If he had looked back at any of the games recently, you see it the other night when Nevitt missed a penalty. He picks his mud out of his boots, walks back, and by no surprise, Little and I think it was Clark were picking Nevitt up. When Shadoji made his mistake against Colchester, Armani Little picked him up. And that's got to be the first things first for me. Make a bold decision. I think the majority of fans will back it. Some of the Amer lovies probably won't, but I think that needs to be done. And then I think he's just got to ask the question of, if you want to be here, you're going to have to fight, and you've got to win the fans back. You see all the kind of the messages and the posts on Twitter right now, Accrington Stanley fans saying how much they love him, and he's obviously built up a fantastic his own fan base up there, being successful. But this is probably the first club that he's going to. Well, I think it's only 2 years out of the 25 years he's been in management. He's been away from Accrington Stanley, but this is the first time where he's going to have a big playing budget. No disrespect to Accrington Stanley, but we're obviously a lot bigger club than him, financially and on the pitch. But it's going to be an interesting challenge. Like I say, I'll back up the point I made earlier that I think he's going to want to prove himself, because he'll be able to rip up the rule book in the summer, get rid of all the dead woods, build his own side with probably the most money he's ever had available. And if he delivers any type of success he did on a shoestring at Stanley, we could be in for a good run. Yeah.
Anything else to add, boys?
I was going to say the only thing, I think we were talking about it off screen, is obviously with him being not a full-time manager at the moment, it does make you think that the window could be loan heavy, unless because no one you wouldn't think would want to join if they don't know the manager's going to be next season. But again, I'm not against loans. I said sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But that'd be my only thing. I can't see us going out and potentially signing players full time with a manager that's only here for 5 months.
I think that also depends on what he's been told for the conversations that he's going to have with the players as well. Again, come here, do well. I'll be the manager next season. Obviously, he's massively respected in the game. So I imagine a number of players that want to play underneath him and help him achieve his objectives.
I saw on social media he was watching Tranmere this weekend as well, which obviously I think he knew something was happening. So again, it's good to see that he's out and about.
Yeah, with the speed of everything that's gone on today, right? I think that this has been talked about since before Christmas. And I would say that Coleman's been instrumental in looking at what we're doing transfer-wise for January and been able to give his input into who he'd want to sign and who he wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, it's buts and maybes. I think today's been quite a roller coaster. I think we heard about it a few days ago, but then it wasn't happening. Then I think he probably would have had today against Chesterfield to save his job, to be honest. So I think the snow helped us, but it didn't help Bonner. John Coleman, as I say, like preferred formation 3-5-2. So does that mean we're then going to have a back three of Ogie, Masterson and Amer, and then the two wing backs of Clark and Hutton until we can get other people in? But he's done, as Luke said, he's done well at Accrington, so I don't see why he wouldn't kick them into shape, to be honest. So it seems pretty irrelevant, boys, but we will move on to the Christmas period and the disaster class. That was Colchester, and I will start with Dave on this one. What are your thoughts on this, mate?
Dross. It was dross. The thing that amazes me with these stats is the amount of times it says that we have all these shots, and I know they don't go on target, but I don't see it, and I'm like, what even counts as a shot nowadays? But it was dross. Again, is it the first or the second goal with Hutton?
No, the first goal. Hutton was at fault for the first goal. He was probably at fault for the second as well, to be honest, because he had an absolutely shocking afternoon. Yeah, no, that it was. Again, it was not that I wouldn't say it was the beginning of the end for Bonner, because I think it did start before this, but it summed everything up. It was just against a pretty poor side. We were just. It's very difficult to say, because it was just. Yeah, it was just rubbish. It was rubbish. That'd do for me on that one. Yeah, it wasn't great, Luke, mate, was it? And to be fair, it was quite demoralising, really, considering I thought against Cheltenham we put in quite a good effort.
Yeah, I think it was just depressing, because the teams that we've played, not so much Wimbledon, but Colchester and Bromley the other night, is that we fold like an absolute deck of cards when teams put it on us, when they press high, and they've got some physicality about them. And they did that, and I think we lost any type of shape that we had. He made, what was it, 3 subs at half time, which improved slightly, but we just create absolutely nothing going forwards. We pose no attacking threat, and we haven't done for months. And it's just so frustrating to watch. But again, OG, probably an unpopular opinion. I wouldn't be too fussed if he was in here next season, because I think he's too liable for a clanger. He has at least 3 or 4 a season. And the less we say about Romeo Hutton, the better, because that was just dire. But again, we create nothing. And when you create nothing, you're not going to get anything out of the game, are you?
Yeah, Warren?
can honestly say, in 50 years of going to watch Gills, this was one of the most gutless, painful, and depressing performances I have ever seen from a Gillingham team.
And you went to Bromley?
And I went to the Bromley game.
I think Bromley was worse.
No, it was awful, right? As Luke said, this team gave up, right? Wimbledon, Cheltenham, yeah, they're doing it once every 2 or 3 games, these players. They seem to be playing when they want to play. They're getting well paid. They're there on a decent wedge. Unfortunately, as Luke alluded to get out of this division, you've got to either have the best 18 players in your squad, like Wrexham and Stockport did that last season. They had the best 36 players between them in the league, or you've got to have a team of bullies, right? And
we have neither.
And we got neither. As I say, I this is the most disconnected I've been with a group of players since I started watching Gillingham. I couldn't even give you a favourite player, a favourite current player at this moment in time, because I don't like anyone. Pardon?
Amani Little?
I really don't like any of them. Right? Amani, I'm not saying Amani Little's not a good player, because he is. Right? And he does show some fight, but he's part of this squad. And unfortunately, Amani Little's not going to win anything on his own. And he's part of the squad. And the squad are there at their nice little breakfast bar in the morning, choosing how they want their eggs done every day. They're all part of the same group. Now, unless one of them has got the nuts to come out in the media and say, my teammates are not trying and saying it how it is, then they're all part of the problem.
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
So this is where part of thing that really grates me is that as soon as we get a half-decent performance or lucky enough to see a win, all of them are on social media inflating their own egos. We're so good, blah, 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 blah. But when things are going badly, you don't hear a peep out of any of them. And I'd have more respect for one of them, or like Warren said, to come out and go, we are absolutely awful at the moment. We're trying to get it back. Not Max Amer, kind of when he did his interview, blaming everybody else apart from himself. Yeah, I'd like to see one of them just come out and just be honest, because we don't want to boo week in, week out. We don't want to be slating them on social media, but they have to take some of the ownership off of the fans as well, and just come out and say, yeah, we are absolutely jank at the moment, but we're trying to do better. And they don't, and that's why I think they're just so unlikable. Apart from 2 or 3, the youngsters, I'll leave them be because I quite like all of them. But apart from Little, the rest of them are just gutless.
Do you just think they can't deal with the pressures of the board, with Brad and that saying we want promotion? Do you just think this bunch of players just can't do it? Because obviously under Scally, he wasn't on social media, so you never really heard him say we want promotion, we want this. But the fact that the Gallinsons have come out saying we want this, do you just think the players just can't deal with that? And maybe we've been taken in on that as well, and we're expecting too much, or is it just a mixture of everything?
I think you've got to look back and think the majority of these we recruited to stay in a division, right? And we're a mid-table side now. With the addition of the extra players that we got in the summer that were meant to propel us, they're not as Warren said, they're not the best players in the division, or we haven't got the best squad in the division. So we haven't got good enough players to be anywhere near the top. I could think of 10 teams that will finish above us this season. They're just not good enough.
Why are we not recruiting? Why are we not recruiting from higher divisions? I think I've said this on here before, and again, it's very hard to compare us to Wrexham, but they went out and signed the League One top goal scorer when they were in the National League. And unless I'm might be forgetting, I think the only player I think we've signed from the division above was Tim Dieng. I can't think of anyone else since the Gallinsons have been here, bar actually Jacob Wakeling on loan, that we've really signed permanently from a League One or Championship side. We are signing League Two and National League players. I said, you even look at fans putting out their dream signings in the January window. They're all non-league players. Like, why are we not looking to sign League One players? Or there must be Championship players that want a game that are decent. It just feels like we've got this high hopes of promotion, but we're not actually doing anything about it.
I think the transfer strategy so far is who was we didn't pay. The only person we paid a fee for was Nolan in the summer, right? We paid compensation. Is that right? All the rest were free.
Yeah.
All the rest were free.
Yeah.
So I think I get the Gallisons want to make it sustainable, but off the pitch, the club's doing the best it's ever done. It's got to be profitable. The amount of money that's getting spent in the shop, drinks, the amount of sponsors they've got on board. I just don't think we've taken any risks to invest heavily in the wage bills. Yeah, it's going to be higher, but we haven't gone out and gone, here's your star man. We've got kind of Bradley Dack, who's Crocs all the time. What else have we done? When we was linked to Alfie May, did we want to pay the money? Hess talks about Akinyemi. Funny enough, he's now going to go off to Chesterfield, so he must be good enough for the division. I don't think we haven't invested heavily in the transfer market.
Yeah. We haven't. We definitely haven't, and it's frustrating because it's okay to say we need a goal scorer. It's okay to say we need a 20, 30 goal a season striker, but if you're not going to put your hand in your pocket to get a 20 or 30 goal season striker, then don't complain when you're not getting 20 to 30 goals from a striker.
Let's put things into a little bit of perspective here, right? So I'll go back to the first comment that I heard about players. All I ask for from any player in a Gillingham shirt is to try and to give 100%, right? If you're not prepared to do that every week, game after game, during a whole season slog, then clear off. Yeah. I don't care how much money you're on or how good you are. If you're not prepared to put in the effort, then go, right? I don't expect promotions. I don't expect to win every week. I go to football purely based on A, my social side before the game, and B, I go and watch a game of football, right? I have no expectations on promotion or whatever. Everybody wants someone else to pay for success, right? We all want the Gallisons to put their money in their back pocket, put their hands in their back pocket to produce a 350,000 proven goal scorer. But how many goals would we have actually scored with a proven goal scorer this year with the amount of chances that we've created? Right? Unfortunately, it's all about the team. And if your team dynamics ain't right, and it hasn't been for 3 years, then you're never going to get anywhere. At the start of the season, I was banging on, and I've been banging on ever since, that we need some real tough, hard leaders within the team, and we need some pace. We got neither. Mm-hmm. And to get out of this division, historically, you need to have a team of bullies, or you need to have pace, or both, right? You look at Wimbledon, you look at Bromley, they had both. Okay? Now, Bromley's players weren't that great individually, but as a team, they were fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's what we've got to allude to. Forget about paying out all this money and whatever and expecting us to win and expecting us to get promotion. You shouldn't be going to football for that. You just go and follow your team, and all you expect from your team is 100%.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we've touched on it a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? Where we said throughout the show that it was a case of we don't expect you to win every week, but we expect you to try. And I don't think to a man anyone can say that they have in recent weeks, and I don't think they have since November, really, October even. Sorry, the worst month we've had in a long time. So yeah, we will just quickly touch on the AFC Wimbledon game. So Matty Stevens' goal, was it a handball, Luke?
Yeah, Stonewall. And we should have had a penalty in the first, 10 minutes from that corner and all. But apart from that, the referee was awful. But you can't go away for the rest of the game when we were absolutely diabolical. It was just, as Warren said, for the Colchester game, it was gutless, spineless. You knew what was going to happen in that second half. I was just waiting for Wimbledon to score because we weren't. Again, total shots on target, no real clear-cut chances apart from when Nevic should have slid in Rowe or Dak. I can't remember if it was them two. Apart from that, created nothing again. And Wimbledon weren't that great either, if I'm honest. But apart from the first 10 minutes where we pressed really well as a team, caused some problems, gave their defenders, they were shanking balls out left, right and centre. Then we did nothing for the rest of the 35. And then we suddenly thought we'd come alive in the last 10 minutes to nick a result. Everything in between with that was absolutely garbage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Warren?
I disagree with you, Luke. I actually thought...
No, you disagree with anyone. Jesus.
Honestly, I thought we did all right against a very good team. They had pace. They were strong. They bullied us out of it, admittedly. But I actually thought the team actually tried as a unit for the Wimbledon game. Maybe it was because I was on telly and I was trying to hope for other clubs to come in for them when they're without a club at the end of the season. But I wasn't, after Colchester, I wasn't displeased with this performance. Whereas Colchester, I could have shot every single player.
Yeah, Dave?
Yeah, I probably agree with Warren on this one. If you put all the 3 games, this was our best performance, if you can say the word best, over Christmas. Obviously, the goal was unlucky, but then the corner was atrocious that we gave away. Again, it just goes to show that stats are deceiving because it looks like we were probably the better side if you go on stats. But I'd say overall, they definitely deserve to beat us. But I think they did show the old-fashioned huff and puff in this one, but without really testing. But like Luke said, the one chance where Nevitt probably should have squared the ball and didn't.
Yeah, there's one player that stood out for me, that O'Toole, right? And he's the kind of player that we need, like in our central defence. Like it's all very well and good, like playing the platitudes and having Aimer and Masterson and Ogie and that. But you need someone with grit, and that O'Toole, although didn't go for us, he's the kind of player we need, really, for me. We need that kind of grit, that determination, that master of the dark arts a little bit. I don't think it was handball. I think it was ball to arm, and it's just hit him. But it is what it is, boys. So we will go on to the best game of Christmas. Warren, take it away, mate.
Shocking. After Colchester, I never thought it could get any worse. But I think Bonner signed his own sacking warrant by the team that he picked for this game. It didn't make any sense at all. It just seemed like we're namby-pamby, our players, right? They've played 10 minutes over the bank holiday, right? Maybe they had a bit too much booze or turkey or whatever. Too many roast potatoes. We won't let them do anything strenuous. We'll drop a few. We'll bring in a few players that haven't played for weeks, like Tim Deing. And it was an embarrassment. Absolute embarrassment.
It really was, because Dave, I think at one point I stood up and looked at you where you were sat, because I sit in the block like next to you, and I looked at you and I was like, this is fucking shit. This is shit. I ended up going at half time because it was just terrible. Like, we look at the possession, 69%. It's all very well and good having 69 possession, but what are we doing with it? Like, we did nothing. And those first 2 goals in the first 25 minutes, it was just, I just turned around to Matt and I was like, should we just go pub? Like, this is just bollocks. So what did you think of it, Dave?
Yeah, it was terrible. You were lucky you missed the third goal.
Oh, no, I didn't. I saw it. I was in the Southern Bell.
Oh, that was a good one as well. Yeah, it was. I think it just summed it up that their workhorse centre forward jogged past our centre half, who's about 10 years younger, and put a cross in. The third goal was atrocious. The ex-Gills kid scored against us again, and yeah, it just. I think, like everyone said here, they just don't look like they're trying. If that's all you want from them, and again, you make 3 subs at half time, and I think, to be fair, we started the second half not too bad, but again, without really doing a lot, and it just. I think everyone had given up by then. I said like half the crowd had gone. The man of the match was watching from the bench for half an hour, and you'd gone, and it was just it was just absolute dross. And I feel for Coleman in a way the fact that I don't think he would have wanted a home game as his first game, because like I say it could all still turn again if we concede early again. We're on that downer. So I think he would have probably preferred an away game to start, but I said we can't really surely go any lower than this, because this was as bad. This was Pennock bad.
Well, David just
that was
signed, sealed, and delivered our fate there. I think like it can't get any worse, can it? I think
surely not. And yeah, I think Luke's been waiting for this one, so I'll hand over to him.
I actually found it quite entertaining in all the wrong aspects of supporting your team, because I just found it laughable. The video that I put up of the penalty miss, where you can hear my absolute cackle of a laugh when we missed it, just sums up the epitome of that game. And I just found it funny. Like that, like it was that bad that it was either a laugh or cry moment. So I just went for the laughing and some of the mistakes that we made. Max Clark, how he's a professional footballer, I do not know. After his appearances, how he played 40-odd games for Stevenage and got promoted in that season, I do not know, because he ain't that player.
As soon as they got promoted, they let him go.
Yeah, that's probably a reason for that. The defending for their second goal, was it second or both, was just shocking. And I think when that was his fate sealed, when it after the Bromley, there was no really coming back from that. But the only good like positives I could take out was the Johnny Williams actually looked like a player that we had signed from Swindon. I actually thought he played really well. I also thought Joe Cabot did well when he came on. I thought he did well when he played, but it was just such a strange lineup, because when he made the subs, you could just see that they should have been starting in the first place, because we had them on the back foot for probably about 7 minutes. But apart from that,
7 minutes.
Apart from that, it was just dross, absolute dross. But I did find it entertaining, because I was really impressed with how good Bromley were actually. And how much of a good job Andy Woodman's done there, because they're everything that I would want to see in a Gillingham side, and the player characteristics are as well. Was their centre half? What is 21 years old?
Is that Swanley, or is it?
Yeah,
Swanley.
Josh Andrews in his pocket. He's probably still in there now. For someone who's 6'7" that doesn't win a header, like he's useless. Like I've never known someone so big that can't win a header. It goes down like a sack of shit as well, like rolling on the floor all the time. Got bullied. So yeah, it was entertaining for all the wrong reasons, really. But I actually had quite a good time.
Yeah, so his head injury after 7 seconds summed us up as well.
Yeah. And the penalty miss, he missed. He missed that on purpose. I'm telling you. You look at the way he runs. 100%. You look at the way he runs up to that ball. There is no way on God's green earth it was putting that in the back of the net. It was going over the bar. But that goes to a question that we haven't really spoke about beforehand: is that did Bonner lose the dressing room? Did they want to play for him? Because going by Elliot Nevitt's penalty, I don't think he did.
No. Well, then you can. There's only so much you can do with Elliot Nevitt. I mean, I'd defend him slightly because there's so many times that he's been played up top on his own. And he's just running and chasing shadows. So maybe he just got to the point where he's already down. It was just like, do you know what? Fuck this. Like it could have just been that. So, anything else for Bromley boys? And before we move on to a look ahead to Fleetwood. No,
take that slide away.
Yeah.
So, as you say, we are at home in the next game on the 11th. We've won, drawn, lost. Fleetwood have drawn, lost, won, drawn, lost. So I will start with you, Warren. What are your hopes, praise, and aspirations for this one?
I think it depends if we can get anyone in this week.
Yeah.
Just to freshen it up a little bit. It depends on Coleman's first week, whether players respond to him or whether they don't. Because some players don't like tough love, if for wants of a better word. I really don't know what to expect. We could go out, we could win 3 or 4-0. We could also go out and lose 3 or 4-0.
Yeah.
With this group of players, you just don't know what you're going to get. Are they going to try this week? Are they not going to try this week? Are they going to give it a go, or are they not going to give it a go?
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to pass the ball this week? Or are they just going to give it away and hoof it? Nobody knows what you're going to get with this team, and that's the biggest problem. And that's the one thing that I think Coleman's got to do when he comes in, is he's got to establish his identity on the side very quickly. And I think by doing that, a couple of signings this week, I would like to think that 3 defensive players at least he'll bring in. I think we've got enough wide men. I think we've got enough central midfield players. I think we've got enough strikers, but I think he's got to look at his back four. Over the past few weeks, the amount of mistakes that we've made, Ogie, Aymer, Masterson, Hutton, Clark, not trying, not putting themselves on the line, not giving it everything they've got. If he can bring in at least 2 or 3 defenders in any one of those positions, I'd be happy. And go from there.
Yeah, that's a good point, Luke.
Yeah, I think trying to pick his first 11 is going to be an interesting one. I'd be interested to see if he goes and takes any of the youngsters or starts any of the youngsters, either kind of Gale, Gabode, Webster. I don't know what's happened to Webster. He played really well, and then Bonner never said he was injured or he just got bombed. I don't know if he trusted the younger players enough to deliver consistent performances, but the senior pros that he was trusted in picking every week weren't doing much better. I would like to see Gale start, if I'm being completely honest. If he goes as a 5 at the back, as the third centre half. Yeah. Obviously, Aaron Rowe, I think I can't remember if Bonner said he was going to make today or not, but Rowe and Clark and the wings, or Rowe and Gabode. But yeah, I think it's going to be one of them ones where are the players going to go with him, because they're certainly going to get told how they react to that. Previously, they haven't really handled criticism very well, so it'd be interesting to see where it goes. And like we've all said, he's going to look into the white of the eyes of these players over the next few days and pick a team that he thinks is going to give their all. I think there'll be some changes, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, and I think he'll get a really good reception as well. So I think we've kind of delivered the unthinkable on especially on social media. So the Gills fans seem to be slightly united on their opinion that this is the right appointment. So hopefully we can, like I say, forget what's happened over the last few months and look kind of to give a clean slate to all of them, apart from Max Aymer and Romeo Hutton.
That's surprising.
And see where we go. But I just hope I just hope that he picks a new captain, because I think that's where half the problems stem from. Aimer ain't a leader. What we do know about Comino, he's a terrific manager. And like I say, hopefully they go with him. But I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't.
Yeah, Dave?
Yeah, well, hopefully he can get half a player out of Nolan. Obviously, we would have worked together last year. So that'd be interesting to see if he picks up. And even some of the players that Luke's just mentioned, they clearly must have fallen out with Bono. Again, like Hutton, there must be a player there that we're just not seeing. So hopefully a new manager could pick him up. I've never been convinced with Max Clark, so I'd like to think we're going to get a decent, especially if we're going to play wing backs. You need someone that wants to go forward, and unfortunately, Clark's a bit more of a defender than a wing back. But I'd like to get Wiley back in the side. Again, if you want players to run, he's got huge point to prove from where he was playing last year. And again, it just seems like whenever a team struggles, even if it's the same old players struggling with experience, it's always the young and inexperienced that are the easiest to drop. And I think where Bonner was fearing for his job, I think your Websters, your Gale was in and out, Wiley and Wakeling, they vanished.
Yeah. Wakeling as well, yeah.
So, I thought he was decent at Swindon when he played last as well.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to formations as well. If you're going to stick with these wing backs, you can't have your top goal scorer playing at wing back. They need to try and find a way to get our attacking players playing and our creative players being creative. They just need to find something, and hopefully Coleman's going to now have a full week to go. And I'm actually looking forward to it now on Saturday because it's like the things you always look forward to at the weekend. It's been a bit of a chore going. So hopefully it'll be a bit exciting. As like Luke said, I'm sure the fans are going to get behind him. And I said they even forgot to play the last waltz on Thursday. I don't know if that was deliberate, but they'd even given up on that.
Well, apparently the PA system had broken, but I don't know how true that is. But then, to be fair, when you're trying to sit there and listen to some of the half-time stuff, sometimes it cuts in and out. So it might have been that. But I just hope that we don't have a performance like we did against Bromley. I don't think I'd necessarily be disappointed with a draw. Just something that looks a little bit more resembling a football team rather than, well, I'm not going to go there, but yeah, shit, basically. So we will just quickly move on. Obviously, as you know, we are in partnership with Gillingham FC Supporters Club. So if you haven't yet, then please sign up. We're at the end of the show. So if you haven't joined us on Facebook, The View from Medway, X at TVFTM, and YouTube at The View from the Medway. I've been Chris. He's been Dave. He's been Warren. He's been Luke. Thank you very much, gents. And of course, up the Gills.